All right, hey, what's up, guys? Coach Mac, Play Fast Football. All right, today I'm going to do a video on some D-line play, talking about what I think, what I've seen in high school over the years and what we struggle with at the school that I'm currently at. And over the years of coaching high school football, one of the things that I think some people struggle with is D-line play, learning how to strike and maintain a gap as opposed to just trying to avoid being blocked. All right, make sure you check out some of our sponsors. Dome Hats, the headwear sponsor at my school, and Play Fast Football. Here's one of our current school hats, trucker mesh, all right, different color panels, logo on the front, completely customizable, great company, great for high school athletics, great for local businesses, so make sure you check out Dome Hats. Baker Sporting Goods, who makes some of our coaching apparel like this. We get our players' gear from there, our fan gear from there, our uniforms are distributed from or through Baker Sporting Goods, so make sure you check them out. Just Play Football, digital software, bringing your program to the next level. It's the best play drawing tool on the market. It's the only one I'll use if I want to, if I'm doing a webinar for my Patreon site, or if I'm doing speaking at any Glacier clinics or anywhere else. That's what I'm going to use all the time. You can also use their quiz features to quiz your players on game plans, playbooks, and actually find out how much your players really know, rather than just asking questions and having them nod yes to the question that you ask. GameStrat sideline replay system we use, highly recommended for anybody. We have very few issues with the hardware. The customer service is unbelievable. They'll get in touch with you immediately on a game day if you have an issue. So I highly recommend GameStrat. DifferenceUSA, the ultimate striking machine. Video I'm going to do today is going to talk a little bit about striking and why I think things like DifferenceUSA help kids in season, off season. You can use it in your weight room. You can use it on the field. So check them out. HighandTight ball security training aid. Skill position players especially have to hold the ball in the proper position, proper points of pressure. If you want to hear the beep, if you hear the beep, you are holding the ball correctly. If you do not hear the beep, there is something wrong. So either the ball is too low, there's not enough pressure, your wrist isn't above your elbow. So if you want to improve your ball security and cut down on fumbles, check out HighandTight. And then StandPerfect training aid we use for stances, especially with our incoming ninth graders, some of our younger players. You can eliminate buzzwords. You put them on the ground, the player's feet go right in them. So when you set up a stance for a lineman on the left side or the right side, instead of talking about heel-toe stagger, 6 inches, 4 inches, you can just put them on the ground where you want them, put their feet in them and say, hey, you feel that? That's the stance I want you to be in. You do that early in the season. You do it over the summer. You do it over and over again, left side, right side, receivers. If you want to get them, you know, proper distance between their feet, or instead of having, in the old days when I was growing up, coaches would grab your foot and they'd move it here, move it there, and say, all right, you feel that? That's where I want it. Now it's StandPerfect. You just put them on the ground, let it rip, eliminates buzzwords, get extra reps. Baseball, softball, golf, you name it, great tool. All right, so when you watch a lot of college NFL film and you watch the teams that are really good up front playing D-line, obviously there's going to be a size, speed, skill set differential between those guys and our kids. I 100% get that. For us, we're playing defense with 195-pound linemen. So I understand that it's going to be different than playing with 280-pound or 300-pound linemen, and I get that. All right, but the technique involved, okay, to play the position properly is not different. You may not be able to execute it as well as the college NFL guys with that skill set, but what you got to think about is the technique involved, especially when you're playing one-gap football, all right, or even two-gap football. It doesn't really matter, but today I'll talk more about one-gap stuff. You know, when I watch guys do drills at Alabama or Clemson, Ohio State, or NFL drills, you constantly see those guys on sleds, striking, getting their helmet in a gap, and then disengaging or doing what they need to do. They're always working on hips, they're always working on striking, they're always working on leverage, but they're also always working on helmet placement of where it needs to be, all right, to win in your gap, and then disengage once the ball declares itself. Whereas in high school, I think what happens a lot of the times is a lot of our guys are trying to avoid blocks. And what happens, for the most part, when you try to avoid blocks, you end up getting yourself blocked even further removed from the play. Even as a 190-pound kid, you're getting yourself blocked further removed from the play than you would if you just played block rec, tried to strike, and played within your gap. Even if you were giving up 50, 60 pounds to somebody, all right? Because when you start to move and penetrate and you just try to beat somebody with speed across their face, if that player's got 60, 70 pounds on you and he gets his hands on you on a down block, he's going to move you 4 to 5 gaps inside because all your weight, your momentum, and everything you do is bringing you straight forward. You know, the term that you hear a lot in D-line play is spike pressure with pressure. So, like, if we play tight front stuff and we have guys that are playing 4 eyes, okay, and if they're smaller guys that feel like they can't win against a bigger player, or if they feel like they just want to get in the backfield and make plays, a lot of times they'll choose to just try and penetrate the B gap with speed. Well, what happens when they do that is they come off the ball so hard, all right, and everything is leaning so far forward that when they get down blocked or blocked inside, they end up getting blocked 2 to 3 gaps further inside, and now the running lanes are increased exponentially because of that. Okay, so, you know, occasionally if you win inside or if they make a mistake and don't block you and you get in the backfield and make a play, yeah, that's going to happen occasionally. But consistent run fits and being able to piece together defenses to stop the run, you're never going to be able to do that until you understand the gap that you're supposed to play, how to block wreck, and then strike and take on blocks and fight pressure with pressure. So if you were getting some type of down block scheme here, okay, when you play the tight front, the ball's already getting spilled by alignment. Unless you see some type of arc trap, if you get power counter gap schemes, or the ball's already spilled because of your alignment. The ball's going outside, right? So if you were to get a down block and you were to try and strike that down block, bring those hips out of your stance, bring those hips, strike that down block with your helmet in the B gap, okay, you'd have a better chance of holding that gap and then possibly disengaging. If you can strike and win inside and get your hands where they belong, you can disengage and destruct that block, okay, in a better fashion than you can if you're just running up the field. So what ends up happening is if we're trying to fit a gap scheme and let's say we've got a backer that needs to go tight over the top, if you penetrate inside and try to beat that block and get blocked 3 gaps down inside, the will can no longer scrape tight to that. There's too much room between the will and the puller or the fullback or whatever he's going to block. So you'd be better off taking that down block on by striking it, getting your helmet in the B gap, separating so that we can find the football, and then disengaging to try and make a play. Okay, so that's one of the common things we see all the time because we're lighter. We see guys that try to penetrate and then they get blocked even further down the line because they're so off balance. They're giving up 50, 60 pounds to begin with. They're moving straight forward. One hand on a guy moving that far forward with that much momentum is going to knock him 3 steps sideways. Okay, so, you know, I know that when you're lighter, you want to move and you want to try and penetrate because you're not strong enough or physical enough. But the more I see guys try to move and penetrate, the more I see bigger running lanes and more rushing yards being given up. All right, even in high school football, the best teams in the area I see are guys that their D-line block wrecks, gets their hands off people, knows how to squeeze, and I'll draw up 2 other scenarios for different positions, knows how to squeeze, all right, knows how to take blocks on, and they know how they fit in the run scheme. Okay, so the other one that you'll see all the time is like if you're playing a shaded nose. So if you're playing a shaded nose, and he constantly just wants to penetrate the A-gap, well, what happens when you play gap schemes and you get this guard pull, you just try to penetrate the A-gap and the center blocks you back and you end up getting blocked 6 yards further away from where you need to be, and you just create bigger running lanes. Okay, so if the center could actually, if the nose could actually strike, so when he gets the back block here, if he would strike the back block with his helmet in the gap, fight pressure with pressure. Pressure's coming back into me, so I need to put pressure back into where it's coming from. I should be able to see the guard pull, so now when I get that back block, all right, or even if you play a 2-eye or something that's here, when you get that flash and that back block, instead of running skinny all the time to try and penetrate, or, you know, sometimes, a lot of times on the center, you see the quick A-gap swim move. Yeah, that's going to work occasionally. Yes, it'll work against bad centers or bad teams. But eventually, that's going to get you knocked 4 gaps further. Okay, I see sometimes our guys, they try to penetrate so hard, and we play tight front, that on a gap scheme, if the center blocks back, sometimes we get blocked into the 4-eye. Okay, because like I said, we're a little bit lighter. We're all our body and our momentum's going forward. When the pressure comes from here, there's no way to fight pressure back into it because I'm just running straight up the field. Okay, so if you were to understand that when the back block comes, pressure is coming from my left, I need to put pressure into that strike and put pressure back into my left while keeping my head in my A-gap. I see that flash pull. Now I can cross face the center depending on how you teach it as a defensive coach or a coach. Instead of backdooring it all the time, now I might be able to destruct this block by cross facing the center and adding a body to the gap scheme that way. Okay? But I see it all the time, especially when we were odd with our noses and we were moving our noses. We're shooting A-gaps. And if we get home, we get home. But if we don't, we end up getting blocked 4 yards further, all right, than we need to, because when you're shooting that A-gap, what you should really be doing is looking for that guard. So if I shoot that A-gap and this guard comes to me, I should be trying to strike him and fight pressure with pressure, all right? Instead of just trying to shoot this A-gap. Now when I shoot this A-gap, if this guard blocks me here, I end up getting knocked 4 yards further on the other side because my momentum, my body, everything is just taking me straight up the field, okay? The other one you see is when you're trying to play 5 techniques and you're trying to spill, all right? So you're trying to play a 5 technique here and you get a gap scheme and you're trying to spill and wrong arm, okay? And off the ball, guys release right there. So now they create all that space between the down block and where they are. The next block coming kicks them out because they're running so far up the field they can't spill and they can't apply pressure or fight pressure with pressure. So they run up the field and then they get kicked further out here, and now the backside puller comes and there's room to run all over the place. If that 5 technique would try and strike the tackle, when the tackle block's inside, if he tries to strike the tackle and keep his head where it belongs, now he's going to bring himself closer to the kick-out block, and now he can just play and wrong arm the kick-out block because of where he's bringing himself. You know, it's almost like at one point we thought about telling our D linemen, think about it as if you were playing man-to-man on the guy you're shaded on. And if it was basketball and you were playing man-to-man, if I was guarding this guy man-to-man in basketball and he went down in there, I wouldn't run over there. But for some reason in football, defensive players at a young age think that being unblocked is how you make plays. And it's the furthest thing from the truth. If you play good high school football, you're not going to be unblocked very often. If you are unblocked, you're probably getting trapped or read or screened. So you have to understand that the only way to really make plays in football is to beat blocks and take blocks on. Okay, so if you get that, if you're supposed to squeeze spill and that block goes down, but you go straight up the field, you're never going to spill. You're going to create space and you're going to get kicked every time because you're just running up the field. If you were to squeeze this, try and strike it to get your hands on it. So I try and tell our D linemen, you should get your hands on somebody every play. If there's a play that you don't get your hands on somebody, something is physically wrong. So when you get this down block, all right, if you can squeeze to try and get your hands on it, keep that down block off your backside backer if you can, flatten it out so that your backside backer can run, and then bring yourself closer to the spill or the wrong arm where you want to be. All right, but not only is that a technique of block rec, not only is that something that takes thousands and thousands of reps, but it's the idea of trying to get your hands on the person you're shaded on. So if you always try to get 2 hands on the tackle, no matter where he went, when he goes inside, if your first thought is trying to get 2 hands on him, you're going to go inside with him. If your first thought is just trying to make a play, you're going to run around him, and then you're going to end up getting kicked or getting something else, and gap schemes are going to absolutely tear you apart, right? So it's understanding little things like that when playing D-line, understanding how to strike, elbows in, thumbs up. When you come out of that stance, how to roll those hips and try and get that separation. Deliver all 190 pounds. But it's the will to strike and want to strike and not run around blocks or run where you think the ball is going to go. All right, the term, and it's the hardest one, to me, it's one of the hardest things to teach in high school or lower level football. The term run fit has meaning to it. It's where you fit versus the run, and it changes, maybe based on your fronts, maybe based on your coverages, maybe based on your pressures, but it changes based on the runs that you see. Okay, now, as a 5 technique, I think one of the things that's helped a little bit is teams that are allowing this guy to play inside of reach and base blocks. So now you can play thicker so that when you do get those hands inside or that block inside, it's easier to squeeze and get hands on it. And if you get any base or outside blocks, you don't have to run like a lunatic, all right, because teams are starting to play defense where they're given, especially if you had an A shade here and this is an open B gap, this kid can two-way go. Any blocks out, play him thick and get under him. Now, because I'm thicker, this down block I should be able to squeeze, spill, and do all the things I want to do. Okay, but to me, it's not only so much the technique of striking and block recognition. To me, it's the mentality that in order for me to make plays and get highlights and put huddle clips, I've got to be unblocked. And it's the worst mentality on defense to have, or special teams. What you need to do is you need to beat blocks. You need to destroy blocks. All right? You need to recognize blocks and understand where and how you fit versus those blocks. And don't get out of your fit until the ball declares itself somewhere else. So if I'm that 4-eye and a tight front, and I get that down block and I punch that and fight pressure, I'm holding that B gap until the ball has declared itself. Now I'll try and disengage and get over the top. Because if my backers are trying to run over the top, and I punch and I see the ball going, and I disengage and go over the top, and the ball comes behind me, we're going to have a hard time fitting it because we're telling our backers where we're trying to send the ball, playing the tight front, right? Or playing the, 4 eyes or however we want to play. So to me, the bigger thing is the physical technique, the physical ability of having kids that can strike, elbows in, great bench presses, having kids that work their tail off in the weight room to get 300-pound bench presses so that when they strike, it's got some leverage and some force to it, and learning how to play with low pads and coming out with those hips so you have some leverage of pad under pad. But to me, it's the understanding and the mentality, knowing that on every given play, I'm trying to put my hands on somebody as a D lineman. All right? I'm not physically trying to avoid anybody. I'm not physically trying to run by somebody. I'm trying to put my hands on somebody and strike and kind of, build that flat wall. When you see good defenses play and you get that flat wall built.
Good afternoon, Raiders. We have just a few afternoon announcements.
Live video, afternoon announcements.
October 21st,
so when you try to build that flat wall versus zone play and you flatten that out, and you flatten that out, and you flatten that out, all right, and then you flatten that, and you create that
there will be an interest meeting on Tuesday, October 19th.
Flat wall, that's when you can defend the run. That's when you become a better player defending the run. All right, so sorry for the announcements in the middle of the video. We are in my planning period at school on a Friday afternoon. So hopefully that video helps you guys. Hopefully if you have some techniques that are better for you, hopefully you can use or send comments to me about techniques or drills that you use, all right, that you understand, help you do better with your D lineman. All right, thank you for following Play Fast. Click that subscribe button. Turn your notifications on. All right, make sure your notifications are on so you know every time I do a video or every time I do go on YouTube Live. Remember to comment. Every comment that's football related, I will respond to. All right, whether it's positive or negative, feedback is good. It's your opinion. All right, so make sure you understand in the comments, if they're about football, they can be against my opinion, they can be negative to what I'm trying to say. It's your opinion. I have full respect for your opinion. I have full respect for you watching the video. All right, if it's not football related, I'm not going to respond. So again, sorry for the last minute and 20 seconds of the live announcements, but this is a live video. I don't edit any of the videos I do. Hopefully it helps you with some D-line play. Hopefully it helps you understand what we're trying to do with the D-line to stop the run and where we're trying to fit and how we're trying to fit. Just the simple things I see with a 4-eye, a shaded nose, or a 2, and then a 5 technique, okay? Thanks for everything you guys do for Play Fast. Thanks for following along the last 7 or 8 years. As always, remember, you won't play well till you play fast. I will catch you guys Next time.